All right. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the live stream. Tonight we're doing something a little bit different, something I've never really done before. Hopefully everybody can hear me and see me well. I know I'm smaller. You guys can see the chat and the desktop over here. And that's because, like the title said, we're going to be doing my coil photography process and then workflow. So not only am I going to give you tips and tricks and a little bit of a tutorial on taking coil photography, excuse me, I'm also going to show you, after I take it, what my process is in post. So my workflow after the fact. So we're going to be doing some focus stacking and maybe some non-focus stacking. Maybe we'll do some like drip shots where we try to catch the drip hitting the coil. I don't know. We're maybe getting crazy. Can hear and see me well. Awesome. I'm also live on Instagram, which is cool. I've never done this before. I think it's been quite a long time since I've gone live on Instagram. I couldn't even find how to do it, so luckily Jess helped me and we found it. Oh shit. Okay, there I am. Sorry, pressed home by accident. All right, guys. So what I'm going to be doing is, let's see if YouTube can see. So I've got my setup here behind me, and I'm going to be taking you guys through it. I wish I could take you up close, but luckily what I will be able to do is when I take the photo, I'm going to show you how I build a lighting setup. Start from a black screen, which you can see now. That's my current frame. When I press the shutter, it takes the photo, and that's what I have. And I'm going to build my lighting setup from here. And I'm going to do a super simple setup. And this is something that could be replicated with clamp lights. So if you have nothing but a cell phone and clamp lights and some printer paper, you're going to be able to take great coil photography shots. And so that's my goal, is to hopefully explain some fundamentals and really impress upon you guys that it's 100% the lighting. It's not the gear that you have, it's the lighting and how you light your coils that's going to determine how professional your shots are going to come out. And that's the goal, right? Is to get more professional looking shots. Cool. All right. So I might, I really don't want to split my attention too much between Instagram and YouTube. I don't want to just be neglecting anybody. So yeah, you know what? It's fine. I'll run this until my phone might die, because I think I'm a little low on battery. No, I'm good. Okay. Oh, no, I don't want to end my video. Cancel. Okay. So, on YouTube, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I'm going to periodically check back, and I'm also going to be looking at my screen because I'm shooting tethered, which means when I take a shot, it's going to save directly to the computer as opposed to a memory card in the camera. And we're going to kind of just roll with this. I'm doing this video because the last live stream I did at the end, Nick, Big G, and I were talking about photography, and I got a ton of messages from you guys saying you really enjoyed that information and you'd like more. So here we are. What's going on, Jonathan? Mike, thanks for being here. D-Jam, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you being here. Dave Flowers, Harry Callan, Aaron, Joey, Domino Effect, Dustin. Don't know if you guys are still here, but thanks for joining. Definitely a specialized video, so hopefully I'll be able to teach you guys something you didn't know, and at the very least you'll see my workflow, and if you can emulate some of these things, you'll be in good shape. All right, so I think we're ready to get started. Instagram, let's see. Yeah, you guys will be able to see what I'm doing. Unfortunately, you guys on Instagram aren't going to be able to see the shots as I take them, but head over to YouTube if you want to see the whole process here. And when I get into Lightroom and Photoshop, I'm probably going to end the Instagram stream. So hop over there if that's something you want to see. All right. Yeah, I think we're ready. All right, so I'm going to hop over here, and I'm going to move my chair out of the way if I can. Maybe I'll put it on this side. All right, hopefully that's out of the way. All right, so I have a, you know, a professional setup, but as I was telling you guys on Instagram, you don't need that at all. And you guys are like looking way too high up at my ceiling. Let me, there we go. All right, so first things first, what I have. Some things that you could do no matter what gear you have. Use Windex and clean your surface. I have a black piece of acrylic, so that's my reflective surface, and you don't even need that. Sometimes I'll take coil shots just on the acrylic itself, so it has like, it's just a single coil with the reflective, you know, it's reflection underneath it. Sometimes that's a cool shot. Most of the time, I'm putting it on a mod and just taking a photo of the coil on top of a mod and not getting much of the mod in the shot. So it's more about just getting it up. And what's more important is the black background. And black absorbs light. So I'm not going to get any bounce back of the light or any kind of reflection from the black material. And that's just a 5-in-1 reflector, really, really cheap. I think it's like less than 20 bucks, and it comes with the white, the gold, the silver, and the black. And you can, you know, use it for all kinds of other things. Another thing I recommend that's super cheap is just a white piece of foam core. This piece of foam core has a matte side and a shiny reflective side, and so this can be used as a bounce card, and this can essentially double your light. So if you only have one clamp, like a clamp light, then grab a $1 piece of foam core and you've now got 2 light sources. And when you bounce a light off of this whole thing becomes a light source. So that tiny little clamp light now becomes a nice, big, soft light source. And at the very least, I'd recommend 2 lights. And I'm using just a basic 2-light setup. You don't need a crazy setup. You don't need anything crazy. What you do need is a way to stabilize your camera. So if that is like I have my phone right now on my desk, it's just propped up. The main thing is you want it stable. So they make little tabletop tripods that are super cheap, like 10 bucks, that come with a cell phone holder, and you can adjust those. They have a ball head on top. Something like that would be perfect, because you could literally set that right up on your surface, set it where you need to, set a timer, and let it go. When you're taking macro shots, any kind of movement, vibration, bumping, anything is really going to fuck you up, especially when you're doing focus stacking. Now, if you have a cell phone, you're probably not going to be able to do focus stacking, but I can at least give you some tips to make your images look much better. One thing that I used a lot when I was doing cell phone macro shots was one of those clip-on macro things. And those are super cheap. You can get them for like 5 or 10 bucks on Amazon or eBay. I think I have some linked in the description of this video. If you're on YouTube, you can go into my description. I have an Amazon link to my Amazon store. And I have a couple different categories on there. One for coil building, one for photography, and one for like starting a YouTube channel. So you can check that out. Check out some of the gear that I recommend. I have a lot of the gear that I'm using listed, the strip boxes and everything. The flashes that I'm using are relatively cheap Godox flashes. Comparatively to like a Sony or Canon brand flash, they're very, very cheap. And then I just have a wireless trigger to set those off. Now, when I take shots, you guys should be able to see them. If I take a shot, well, you're not even going to be able to tell. Let me crank my ISO so you can actually see the surface. Tell me that's not working. All right, so let's try taking a shot and seeing if you guys can see what I see. There's going to be quite a bit of a delay because it's got to go through a couple programs to get in the Lightroom, which is what you guys are seeing. And I do use Photoshop and Lightroom. All right, so you're not even going to be able to see what I'm doing. Okay. Let's turn on some flashes. All right, so what I do want though is I want to get my ISO as low as possible. The sensitivity of the camera. If you're using a cell phone, there's a lot of third-party apps that will allow you to take full manual control of your phone's camera, and I highly recommend you use something like that because it just gives you way more flexibility. ISO is how sensitive your camera's sensor is to the light. The lower, the better. The higher you have to put that ISO, the grainier your image is going to be. So ISO, we're going to set it and forget it. My native ISO, the lowest native ISO is 50, so that's where I'm going to keep that. My shutter speed is going to be determined by the flashes, essentially. So to keep this simple, generally you're going to be at 1/200th of a second, and that's the flash sync speed. So it's going to sync up with the flashes nicely. We could get into dragging the shutter later once we cover some of the basics. And then so those two things are kind of established for us because we're using flash. The third thing in the exposure triangle is the aperture. Now aperture is generally a stylistic choice. Do you want the background super blurry or do you want a lot in focus? When it comes to macro, I'm going to shoot, because we're going to be doing focus stacking, I want to get into my lens's sweet spot. And with this lens, it's between like 8 and 12, f8 or f12. And so I definitely wouldn't want to shoot at like 2.8 because that's going to be razor thin and I'm going to have to do a bunch of fucking photos, like a fuck ton. So I'm going to be at, let's say let's do f11 because I know my lens is nice and sharp at f11. And from there, let's grab a coil. So this is a nice big frame staple. And I'm going to stick it, actually I'm going to stick it on, oh, one thing I do have is a wireless trigger, wireless shutter, yeah, wireless trigger. This just allows me to fire the shutter without touching the camera. And super cheap, like 15 to 20 bucks on Amazon. You kind of can't go wrong. All right, so I am going to, it really doesn't matter because I'm just going to take a really close-up shot of the coil. So I'm going to stick this on this mech mod right here. And I'm going to set this on the acrylic. At this point, I don't even really need the acrylic because it's not going to be in the shot. The background is, and I want that black again because it's going to absorb the light and just fall out. I really want the coil to be the main focus. What I'm going to do, I'm going to turn my wireless trigger on and my flashes. Now for you guys on YouTube, one thing I always do and one thing I always have, I've got some Windex. I normally clean my surface first, so always clean your surface. The cleaner you can get your surfaces, whatever you're photographing, whatever your subject is, the cleaner you can get it, the easier your world is going to be when you get into post. Because if you've got to take out a whole bunch of fucking fuzz, it's going to take you forever and be extremely frustrating. So along that line, I have a camera lens cloth and gloves. And these I use all the time for product photography. These allow me to, once I've cleaned something, not get fingerprints on it. Because again, a fingerprint is such a pain in the ass trying to get out of a photo. I also have a little blower, a little rocket blower thing, and then a little brush made for cleaning lenses and stuff. So what I'm going to do before I even start getting any photos is I'm going to try to brush the coil, make sure there's no fuzzes. Fuzzes? Is that a word? Fuzz. And I'm going to try to brush out the RDA to make sure there's nothing in that. And once I brush it, see this I already did some photos of yesterday, so there's some juice on the wicks, which you guys will see, and some juice in there. But I want to just try to get the fuzz and anything that shouldn't be there off. Now ideally you're ultrasonic cleaning your coils before you take photos of them, so that's going to help. That's going to take a lot of the grime out of them. When you're doing super macro shots like this, any little anything, skin cells, hair, fuzz, it's going to show up. So the more you can eliminate that, the easier your life's going to be. All right, I have my flashes on. Here's what I'm going to be doing. This is going to be my kicker light. So this is going to be my backlight. What this is going to do is edge out the coil from the background. It's going to give a nice specular highlight on the back of the coil, meaning just like a nice bright spot. So I'm going to get this in as close as possible and kind of tilt it up a little bit to give me some directional light. I have no idea what this is going to look like, but I am going to show you light by light how this is going to go. So I'm actually going to turn off this, which will end up being my key light. So that flash is off. And what I'm going to do to get started here is try not to break anything for one. This is my video tripod. I wouldn't recommend using one of these, but it works well. It's nice and sturdy, but any tripod that you can get will work. The sturdier the better though. Tripod is one of those things that's really worth spending money on if you can. I am in manual focus, and what I'm going to do is put my lens at its closest focusing distance. So I'm going to move the object as close to the lens as possible with it still being in focus. Now, if I'm trying to get the entire coil, like the RDA and everything, in focus, then I need to pull the front of the RDA into focus. And here's where I'm at with just this, this backlight as a kicker. I'm actually going to bring this forward a little bit so I can get like nice and right above it, and I'm going to drop it down just a tad too. The closer this light is to the coil, the harder it's going to be, even diffused in this strip box. So let's take a shot here and see where we're at. I should have this on. Okay, so it's not on a timer. If I didn't have the trigger, I would use a timer to, activate the shutter and then get my hands off of it and stand real still, because even vibrations in the floor will fuck you up. Let's see if my trigger is even going to work. There we go. All right, you guys should be able to see what I have from this shot once it comes up. It might take a little bit though. Sorry that you guys on, what did I do with my beard? Sorry you guys on Instagram can't see. Do I have anybody watching? One guy. Hey, all right, so there's only one person watching on Instagram, so I'm going to get rid of Instagram. Bye, guys. Thanks so much for being here. I don't know if this is going to stick around once I get rid of it, but come over to YouTube if you want to see exactly what I'm doing. All right, Instagram's done. All right, so that's what we have so far. Obviously not a great start, right? So what can we do about it? We can either adjust the ISO to make it brighter, or we can drop the aperture. Neither of those things we want to do. We are going to control everything with the flashes. So I'm going to adjust the power of this flash and adjust the position of it. So I'm going to bring this up a little bit. Because I'm at f11, it's pretty dark. That's the eye of the lens is really closed, meaning it's not going to let a lot of light in. So what I'm going to have to do is turn this light up. Luckily, I can adjust it from here. I'm at 1/4 power. I'm going to turn it up to full power. And we'll see where we're at right there. Again, this isn't going to be my main light, but what it is going to do is it's going to separate the coil and the cotton. There we go. That's a little bit better from the background. So let me actually get the coil in focus so you guys can see what it's doing to the coil itself. I'm manually doing the trigger, but we're just building the lights right now. We're just building the light setup, so it's not ridiculously important. Okay, so now you guys can see the specular highlight on the top of the coil, right? So like right up here. And already that's looking pretty good. Now I can see we've got some problems, right? I don't want this big piece of cotton here. Obviously, let's switch to something I didn't already take photos of that's wet already. All right, real quick pause. Sorry, guys. All right, let's do this. What is this, an enigma? Yeah, we'll do this enigma. So if this were like a for real shoot, you see how on the image there, this mod isn't in great shape? I would have cleaned this up and made it nice and pretty and clean. Instead of moving the camera, I'm moving the mod in the RDA. All right, let's try this again, just show you guys where we're at with just the one light behind it. This could be a clamp light with a piece of paper in front of it. So if you have to hold that piece of paper as you take that photo, then that's what you do. But that piece of paper becomes your light source. With that little tiny clamp light, that's gonna be a really hard light. So it's gonna cast hard shadows and give you really bright highlights that are going to be like overly bright and distracting. So when you put a piece of paper in front of that light bulb, it's going to soften that out and make it look more like a strip box. So let's do this coil, and I'll show you guys where we're at with the one light just behind it. Man, I keep losing my beer. Oh, here it is. All right, let's see where we're at with this coil. All right, you can see the front of that coil is lost in shadow, but we do have a nice cutout of the back of the coil. We've got shape and definition. The RDA itself is also a little bit dark, and that's because there's no light coming from the front. So at this point, if I were using clamp lights, I would clamp it right here, or further back if I could, maybe to the tripod, and have it like right here. So I'll show you where I'm going to set this up. And I'm going to do this horizontally instead of vertically, so I can just sneak it in there. Because it's so close to my lens that it's really difficult to get this light in like I want it without moving the coil further away. So I'm going to turn this light on and show you guys what a big difference this light will make. This is at full power too. I don't know if this is going to be too much, but let's just take a look. I should have peed before I started this live stream. All right, you can see now on this coil that there's some errors in this. So I'm going to show you how we can hide this. Okay, what other issues we have? We've got some fuzzies on this guy because I broke the cardinal rule of not cleaning it before I started shooting it. So what can we do? If we've got some errors on our coil, and I intentionally wrapped them so that they be at the bottom of the coil, right? But the rest looks good. We're still a little dark. We're still losing it with some shadow, but we do have this nice highlight here on this side. It's a little dark on this side. So what can we do? We can add a bounce board. And this could be a piece of printer paper. This could be an envelope. Literally anything you have. This is actually kind of big, so I am going to grab some printer paper. Actually, I'm going to use this Xfinity card. And I'm going to just set it right here. And what this is going to do, hopefully you guys can see that. Yeah, okay. So what this is going to do is bounce the light coming from this strip box back into the coil. And I'm kind of mirroring the angle that this is at. I'm kind of just mirroring it on the other side. It's also going to pick up some light from the strip box behind it. I can tell that's bouncy, so let me grab my trigger. And we'll see if there's a difference after adding that bounce card. Yeah, quite a big difference, right? That's one piece of paper. Do you see how big of a difference you can get just by manipulating the light? I know this is weird framing. Sorry about this, guys. But seriously, take a look at that. Like, that's one shot in camera and a big difference. All right, couple things we need to do. We need to hide these errors, and we need to clean up this coil, because taking those fuzzies out of this would be very, very difficult in post. Doable, but difficult. So what I'm going to do, first I'm going to grab my blower. And then my brush. And hope to God it came out. Because I can't tell. All right, now we're going to hide those errors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to see if there's an angle that I can do. Okay, actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to shoot it from a little bit higher, so it's like almost like a top-down shot. And what that'll do is hide those mistakes. We're going to hide our crimes here. All right, let's see how we're doing. And with the magic of focus stacking, we'll be able to get this entire thing in frame. I actually need to go higher. Okay, this is the angle that we're going to do. Something like this. So let me lock this down and I'll show you guys where we're at. So this lighting setup will work for the majority of, like, no matter how we place this RDA in these coils, we probably won't need to adjust, oh, I'm like not even looking at you guys, sorry. We probably won't need to adjust the lighting at all. If we do, we can use the bounce cards and just kind of, you know, tailor the light, maybe move it around just a tiny bit. But with this shot, we're hiding the crimes of that coil. Now, obviously, we don't have a lot in focus, right? So we want the rest of that coil in focus, and that's where focus stacking comes in. So I'm going to move that focus area down this coil and through the entire RDA, and then combine all those shots together. And I'm going to take you guys through that. So let's take a look though. Here's the advantage of a camera, like an actual camera. I can take this image and crop it all the way down like this for like a super macro shot, and I can push it even more and still have it look decent, right? That's a cool shot. I like that shot. You got a little bit of the post in it. And then, you know, we can also tweak the exposure, the texture. We can add some sharpening. Yeah, it looks like the white balance is off a tiny bit. But so you guys see, I mean, that's even that itself is a decent shot. I would post that. All right, so let's take a look at focus stacking. It looks like it got rid of most of the fuzzies too, which is cool. All right, so you guys can look at that cool coil. All right, here we go. Again, I have my camera set. I'm zoomed, or the focus, I'm focused in as far as possible, close to the lens. And so I'm going to move the coil to the RDA. The edge of the RDA closest to the camera is in focus. And so I'm going to set up my framing from there. And we're going to take our first shot of this stack. Where's my... I'm going to keep having to do this all night. All right, here's our first shot of the stack. Before I get too far into the stack, I'm going to check this frame. I'm going to make sure that I like the composition and everything. We're going to check and make sure that the RDA, you see right there, the edge of the RDA is super clean, super sharp. That's what we want. The coil's not yet, but that's okay. We're going to get the entire coil in focus, or the entire RDA in focus. So that's our first shot in the stack. If at any point I bump this tripod at all, I need to start over because they won't align well in Photoshop or Lightroom if I bump this at all. So I am going to go, now I'm going to focus through this entire thing tiny bit by tiny bit. I'm going to take a shot, make sure it came out well. With this, the cheaper flashes and the AA batteries that they take, the 4 AA's, they burn through battery, so sometimes one of the flashes won't go off, the trigger won't fire it. So I'm very particular in making sure that after I take a shot, make sure the lighting is where it needs to be. And I'm actually going to add that bounce card back in. So I'm going to redo this shot that we just took with the bounce card, which is literally a getting started guide for Xfinity. Real fancy shit here. And again, I'm just going to set it here. And let's take this shot and see what we get with the bounce card. And this will be the first frame of our stack. I really have to pee. Fuck. All right, that's better. See how we have that light coming in, illuminating those dark shadows? I like that much better. And that would look a lot better if we had a dual coil setup in here. When I go to post-process this and crop it in, I'm going to crop off a lot of this empty space in here because it's just, compositionally, it's not a great shot like that. But I know that what I'm going to do towards the end is I'm going to make it vertical for one. So I'm going to go to 4:5 aspect ratio because that's going to take up the most amount of screen on Instagram. And I'll crop it to something like this. Now picture this just all in focus. That's going to look a lot better, right? But I even do like the fact that I'm going to be adding more light with that bounce card. So I'm going to do that for every shot, and I'm going to try to keep it in the same place. Now this is where these little tiny clamps come in great because I can clamp this to the card, and this is going to hold it up for me. So I don't have to hold it and potentially get it messed up. So I'm going to set my bounce card in here. Yeah, good. Okay, perfect. And I'm literally going, I'm manually focusing, and I'm going to go a tiny bit at a time all the way through. And you guys will see what I'm doing. I'm moving the depth of field. I'm going to be moving what's in focus all the way through the RDA and the coil. So we have our first shot. I'm going to do a tiny bit. Take a photo. Tiny bit. And I'll take this photo, but I want to make sure it comes up and comes out clean. Okay, that looks good. So I moved it a tiny bit already. Stand super still. take the photo, move it a tiny bit. If you go too far, start over. Okay, that looks good too, so I'm going to take the next one. And then I'm going to move the focus. So either, oh, see, the flash didn't go off. So here's why, see, I messed up. I didn't follow what I normally do. I'm going to try to backtrack. So normally what you should do is set your focus, take the shot, make sure it comes out clean, and then adjust it once you know you have a clean frame. I might need to replace the batteries. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this frame. Where are you? Where's remove? What the hell? I know it's here somewhere. There we go. All right, I'm going to retake this shot and then make sure everything came out okay. Hopefully both flashes fired this time. Yeah, I'm not getting any battery warnings. Okay. I've got a little bit of color discrepancy going on here, a little bit of exposure discrepancy, but that should be okay. I'm not real worried about that. What I am looking for is the focusing, making sure I'm moving through the coil consistently. So now that I know the photo's good, I'm going to move the focus a tiny bit and take the shot. All right, looks good. Focus a tiny bit, take the shot, and check. As you can see, this could be a long, tedious process, especially if you're using like a super low aperture. You're going to have to take a million fucking shots. All right, that came out good. And take another. I'm going to move the focus and then take another. I have focus peaking on my camera, so it shows me in like it red outline what's in focus, so I know to go, you know, tiny bit by tiny bit through the coil. And as you can see the focus moving. Oh, see, I've got a little bit of movement though. See how that I bumped it? That's not good. So okay, I do have the edge of the RDA in frame right there, or in, sharp rather, in focus, and then I'm moving through. So what I'll do is I'll start right here. Yeah, right here. This is where I'll start my stack, as long as I don't bump it again. If I bump it again, I'm going to have to start over. I might not have my tripod locked down well enough. Okay, that's good. So there is going to be a little, it looks like it's moving a little bit, but that's because of something called focus breathing. As you focus in and out, it kind of changes the field of view. So don't worry about that. Just worry about bumping it. If there's a major difference in the frame, you're going to have to start over. You're way better off taking more shots than not enough shots, because if you don't take enough shots, you'll get some like blurriness in the stack when it's finished, and it sucks to spend so much time doing all these shots and it not come out when you go to put them together. So take your time, get your lighting set up how you want it first, and then go through all your photos. That looks good. I feel like my my backlight didn't go off on that one. Yep. This is why you check every frame, because if I missed this one and then kept going, I would have a really hard time putting this stack together. It's not impossible, but it's a pain in the ass. So I'm going to remove that frame and do it again. It went off that time, hopefully. Success. All right, let's keep moving. Again, I feel like it didn't go off. This is the problem with having cheap gear. And, okay, here's the other problem. I have my trigger for my A group, which is this softbox. I have that flash set to 1, like full power, 1/1. The flash itself is reading 1/4. So it's having a hard time, and I just moved the light, which sucks. I'm having a hard time. There it goes. All right, so let's see what this looks like now that it's firing like it's supposed to. I might have to change out these batteries, which always sketches me out because I don't want to move the lights at all. And the backlight didn't go off. Photography. I have a love-hate relationship with it. All right, so I'm going to remove that frame, and I'm going to remove this frame, and I'm going to change out the batteries and hope I get better results that way. See, it's not giving me a low battery indicator, though. Let's do one more, but I don't want to keep fighting with it if it's going to not go off every time. Now it's overexposed comparatively to the other frames, right? See how it's much, much brighter? I don't hate it, but it's a little too hot, in my opinion, because we can, and it's not going to match. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that back down. I'm going to turn it down to 1/2 and see if we can blend them together in the stack. We might have to redo this, but, you know, such is life. I'm being real careful not to bump this camera. And I'm going to move the focus a little further back and just keep working through it. Oops. All right. God, I have to pee. I might have to take a break and go pee, guys. Loosen my belt here. Okay, we're back. We're back. Okay, here we go. Frame looks good. Push the focus back a little bit. Take the shot. Wait for it to come up. Looks good. All right, we're cooking with gas now, guys. Yeah. This is going to be a nice shot, guys. See, it's just about time and patience. And the lighting. The lighting's the biggest thing. Oh, see, fuck you, flashes. Fuck you. All right, we'll try this shot again. Oh, not the two. All right, fine. No, 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 stop. Come on, please fire. Please have fired. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. All right, so I'm going to remove the bad frame. Occasionally check to make sure everything's still nice and sharp. All right, we're going to push the focus again. And fire. When you're running these cheap flashes at full power like I am, they take some time in between to recycle. But so when you want to check, make sure everything's good, give it time, and then go for it again. That looks good, so I'm going to push it forward. I'm moving tiny bits at a time, as you guys can see. I'm just pushing what's in focus all the way through. So when I combine those, it's going to take all the sharpest edges of all the different photos and squish them together into one photo. Please fired. Is that the new photo, guys? Yeah, I think so. Okay, cool. Let's move on. So I'm getting away from this. I don't want to be interfering with that light at all. I don't want my hand in there making any shadows or anything. And I'm being careful how I walk and I'm being real fucking careful to make sure I don't bump this, because we're getting to the finish line here and I don't want to mess it up now. I can't tell you how many times doing product photography or doing coil shots like this that I'm like 3/4 of the way through and I bumped the fucking tripod. And you got to start over. There's no fixing it once you move it. You know what? I'm wondering if I can. Let me see if I can show you guys what my camera looks like. Window capture, properties. I know, sorry this is black, guys. Oh, no, music, remote. Okay, yeah, kinda, that works, right? Transform, fit the screen. No, that's not working either. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you letting me know. Glad I caught that. All right, so I don't know if you heard me, but so my camera is showing me with red outlines on what's in focus, so I can go through and push the focus all the way through. Okay, that shot looks good, so I'm going to move it along. I'm getting towards the end of the coil now. We're getting there, guys. And then, so once I get all these done, we're going to go through the actual stacking process and wrap the video up. I use Lightroom, as you guys can see, and Photoshop. And I'll show you how simple this process is once we get there. So just going little bit by little bit, guys. Being patient, moving through. All right, so that's the entire coil. The entire coil has been shot, but we don't want to stop right now. We want to keep going all the way through the RDA to get the entire thing in focus. So just like the coil, I'm going to keep pushing on a tiny bit at a time. This is the Oculus RDA by Twisted Messes and maybe Og Vape, I think, or Times Vape. I forget who the manufacturer is, but I'm a fan. I really like this RDA. All right, that shot came out good, so we're going to keep moving. And for those of you who might have just joined us, I've got a 2-light setup with a bounce card. I could be doing this with 1 light, that one on top with 2 bounce cards, and these could be clamp lights with the cell phone. With the cell phone, you're not going to be able to do this focus stacking technique, but you could still get some great shots just focusing on, like putting the coil perpendicular to the lens. So like on the same plane, if the camera's here, the coil would be here instead of like I have it. And you could get some really nice sharp photos. You just gotta crush it with light and diffuse those clamp lights with a piece of paper. So if this was the clamp light up here, I would hold the piece of paper here, like about 6 to 12 inches away from it, and that piece of paper becomes the light. And just like a strip box, it'll be more diffused and softer and nice. All right, that shot came out good. We're gonna push it a little further and keep going. I'm just doing real gentle little turns with the focus ring, just little tiny increments at a time. If we push it too far, we won't get a nice clean stack. We want to get that whole RDA in focus. We want the whole damn thing in focus. You know what? That key light might be a little hot, but we're too far to turn back now. We're just going to have to roll with it. I'm actually moving much faster than I would if I were doing this for real. Actually, you know what? That's probably a lie. I get real impatient doing these, and what I generally do is push it too far each time. Instead of doing tiny little increments and doing 100 shots or whatever I need, I try to cheat it and go too far. And so you'll see a lot of my stacks have like little blurry parts that I try to hide in Photoshop. Oh shit, all right, so my backlight didn't go off. So we're gonna redo this frame and hope the light went off this time. And I'm gonna delete that bad frame before I go any further so I don't accidentally leave it in. Okay, there we go. Remove photo, delete from disk. Okay, let's move on. We're almost there, guys, and then I'm gonna pee, and then we're gonna do the stack. And I'm gonna grab a beer because I'm out of beer. Okay, 1 or 2 more, maybe 3. I really want to make sure I catch that back wall of the RDA though. I don't want to have it blurry, but it looks like we're almost there. We're really getting the juice well nice. Fuck. Okay, now it's telling me the battery needs to be replaced. So if you do have these Godox lights or Yongnuo flashes, get the Amazon Basics high capacity rechargeable AA's. You can charge them in your vape charger, and you're gonna blast through batteries if you're using disposables. So the rechargeables are a lifesaver. I'm gonna be real gentle in here as I replace these batteries. I'm gonna try my damnedest not to bump anything or move it drastically. Not going to be the end of the world if I do bump it just a tiny bit, but I'm going to do everything I can to try to not have that happen. Man, these batteries are hot. Okay. All right, so we need to reshoot this frame, right? I'm going to delete this one. Where did I put my trigger? Okay, here we go. Okay, why does that look so different? All right, so it's not picking up like it should. It's at 1/4. I need it to be at 1/1. There we go. Okay, so just make sure you're paying attention as you're doing this. I could have missed that. My flash didn't fire at the power that I have the rest of them set to. So hopefully this time it will. Okay, now we're cooking with gas. Yes. All right, push it a little bit further. Okay, I'm gonna do 2 more safety shots just in case, because I'd rather have too many than not enough, right? So I'm gonna do a couple more, even though that looks like the back's in focus. Again, better safe than sorry. You don't want to get all the way through this and be like, damn it, I didn't do enough shots of the back. Yeah, see, I can already tell I'm going to be glad I did. All right, I'm going to do 1 or 2 more after this, depending on how they look. Yeah, see, the back of that juice well is crispy sharp, but I need the back of that RDA to be sharp as well. Oh no, see, I just bumped my flash, but hopefully that'll be okay. The fact that I just bumped my flash, what that's going to do is, if it's not in the right spot, once I come back and do this again, this front line, the edge of this highlight here, could be in a different spot, which I really don't want it to be. So we're going to see how this comes out. We might move that light and redo this next shot. Hopefully it's not too bad. Ah, see, fuck. It is different. Okay, so I'm going to push this forward a little bit. Oh, and I think I just moved the RDA. All right, let's see. That might be it, guys. Our hand may have just been forced. Okay, that's better, right? Ah, it's still not right. But okay, so we're going to move on. We're going to keep plowing through. Hopefully, because that is out of focus, that area, when it goes to stack it, it's not going to pull that highlight anyway. It'll take it from one of the sharp frames. My concern is, oh, see, I bumped the camera too. Okay, so we're done. See how far out that is? Okay, we're done. I'm going to remove that one. Remove. I'm going to throw on some music for you guys and grab a beer and pee quick before I pee my pants. And then we'll get into the stack part of this. All right, I'll be right back, guys. Give me 1 minute. All right, we're back. We're back. Let's see. Fix that. Okay, cool. All right, now for the stacking portion. Oh man, people are giving out their license plates. Okay, so we're gonna go to the front of all these photos. And I'm gonna make sure, because we did a couple that, yep, see how it's moving around a little bit? The lighting's not quite right. I think this is where we started. I'm gonna double check to make sure everything's sharp. I'm a little out of focus right here, but that's okay. We're just gonna roll with it. So I'm gonna start with this one, 17. Go all the way to the end to my last one. Hold shift and click. Right click on any of these and edit in open as layers in Photoshop. Boom. I'm going to get rid of this if I can. I don't need this anymore. Close window. Close window. All right, so let's see. I'm going to move me over. There we go. All right, so this is going to take a minute to populate all those frames into Photoshop. And it's doing it because of the way we selected it from 17 to the end. It's going to do it in that order. So 17 will be at the top. Oh, I hope it's doing it that way. Yeah, 17 is going to be at the top, and then all the way down to 49 or whatever it is. And that is actually kind of important. You've got to make sure that these images stay in order. The other, I'll show you another, once these, because this is kind of like, I'm not going to be able to do anything while it's doing this, but once this is done, I'll show you another way to load these into Photoshop and how you would want to do that. How's everybody doing tonight? Hope everybody's doing well. I guess I could check on chat, right? Are you guys fighting in chat? All right, Dave, I hope you, if you have any questions, Dave, let me know. I'm going to put chat in on my, if it's going to let me, come on. There we go, okay. Chat's on my other screen, so I will try to take a look over here. If you have any questions, let me know. Are we done? We're done. Okay, so another way to get your files in here would be to go to File, Scripts, then Load Files into Stack. Excuse me. So you would go to Browse, and then find the files and start at the beginning, so 17 for me, down to 49. Click on the first one, and then shift click on the last one. Click OK, it's going to load them into here, and you would click on this, attempt to automatically align source images. Because we didn't do it that way, we're going to align them manually. So I've got the top one selected. I'm going to go down to the bottom, shift click the last one, so it's 53 for me. And what I'm going to do to align them is go to Edit, Auto Align Layers. I'm going to make sure Auto is selected, and then click OK. It's going to do its thing. This can take a while depending on your computer. What it's doing now is trying to take that focus breathing, so the mild differences, any kind of it's trying to align the images. It's trying to get it perfectly aligned. Is it? It's going to align all the images one on top of the other, and that's a necessity when we go to stack these into one image. I have never tried vaping copper, and I don't know anybody who has. I don't know the resistance properties of copper. Is it like super low resistance? Yep, this is the Ocula RDA. Looks like we're almost done. Wait, I don't want a panorama here. Okay, looks like it did a decent job. I still have these selected. All of them are selected from the top to the bottom. If they weren't, I would click on the first one, go down to the bottom, shift click, make sure they're all selected from the top down. I'm going to go to edit again, auto blend layers. Panorama is the default that's selected. You're going to want to make sure that you click stack images. And then I click seamless tones and colors, content aware fill transparent areas. Click OK, and it's going to do its thing. Sometimes it does a better job than others. That's why it's super important to get it right in camera. I think this coil was a maybe 12 ply Enigma. So you can see it's the two alien cores intertwined. It's a really cool coil. I have a tutorial on it on the channel. Nick Devine walked me through it my first time. I almost dripped this into my beer. Oof. Wouldn't be the first time I've done that. That's for sure. Did my channel used to be bigger? No, but my growth used to be bigger. There was a point where I was getting 2,000 new subscribers a month, and they were showing my videos to a lot of people, hence the growth. But after the demonetization, you know, if YouTube's not making money off your videos, the AdSense, they, you know, they're not as inclined to show it to more people. And so I can see in my analytics how many people they're showing my videos to, and it's significantly less than it used to be. And my channel's been on the decline ever since. So, you know, that's fun. Okay, we just wait for the magic at this point. Come on, baby. Give us something good. Bam. Isn't that amazing? Like how that was, what, under 10 clicks to get this? But really where the magic is, like where the success comes from is making sure you get it right in camera and going very slow and incrementally through the coil. We're gonna zoom in on this and take a look and make sure everything's nice and clean. So yeah, that's looking good. All right, so you can see this fuzziness on this post screw. And you'll get artifacts like that throughout the image if you don't get, see I've got some going around this coil, around the edge of this RDA. If that happens, man, there's really nothing you can do about it. I've tried to go through all these masks here and fix that, but it's fucking impossible, man. So I just let it go because like when you're zoomed back a little bit, you can kind of tell on the post screw, but that's acceptable for me. To post on Instagram, it's not paid, like I wasn't paid to take this photo. I'm good. I've got a little bit here. I could probably fix some of this with the clone stamp tool. So what I could do, all right, so what I'm going to do, see how there's like selections here? So I'm going to do Control D to deselect that. I'm also going to select all of these again and flatten these. So I'm going to go, so what I would do normally is I would make a group. So I have double, and then I'm going to flatten, I made a duplicate. So all those layers, excuse me, are duplicate. So I'm going to merge the ones I have selected. And then I'm going to grab these other ones, the duplicates, and I'll group them. Group from layers. Okay. And then I'll shut that one off. That's just kind of a backup in case I need to get back into the work I've already done. And I'll consistently do that when I make any massive changes. That way I can go back and I'm not, excuse me, I'm not screwed if I make a mistake. I'm going to start a new layer so all my adjustments are on that layer as opposed to on the image itself. And I'm going to zoom in and show you how I could, if I wanted to, if I was like fuzziness, I could kind of fix some of this. So right now I have the clone stamp on the image. Yep, there we go. Then it'll work. Image I want to, and dragging. So I can butt up against the edge of this, removing some of that fuzziness. Make it smaller so I can get in here. And so I could go along the whole. And this is one tool that you can use to get rid of, like, say this blemish here. I could use the clone stamp tool or the spot removal tool. I mean, Photoshop is amazing with the spot removal tool. So I like to use this or the patch tool a lot to just get rid of any kind of little errors. But you'd be amazed at how well this thing works. Like, say this the tool is, the better the results are going to be, generally speaking. But because I cleaned it pretty well, there's not a whole lot to get rid of here. And my rule of thumb when it comes to post-processing, unless it's like really high-end retouch work, is I only take it out or mess with it if it's distracting. So if it catches my eye, like it distracts me from what I'm really looking at, then I'll get rid of it. But otherwise, like I'm gonna leave it. I'm not gonna even mess with it because especially with my personality, I could be here for hours, going around the image and removing tiny little things that don't necessarily need to be removed. If this were paid work, I would go through and make this absolutely flawless. It would look, you know, brand new and it would be flawless. I would spend a ton of time retouching all of this, making it perfect. But for the sake of this video and my own sanity, I am not going to be doing that as I sit here and do it. But I would literally go like, oops, inch by inch here, fixing every little thing. I can't stop. I can't stop. But it does come out, it is much, much cleaner if you spend the time on it. That line, so I'm going to pull out the clone. But that side of the RDA is not even probably going to be in the finished image. So I'm going to do my actual, like I'll do my major photo manipulation in Photoshop, and then I'll go back into Lightroom to do the edit, the color and the stylistic stuff. What I will do is click on the layer, so the layer of the photo, not layer one. And what I would normally do is I would, you know, I would do like blemishes. I would keep everything labeled so I knew, and I could like shut it off And you can see the difference just spending the time makes. It makes it so much cleaner. But I always work on separate layers, that way I can alter things how I need them. If I want to, you know, see where I'm at, go back and forth, I can just shut it off and turn it back on. But so before I take this back into Lightroom, I'm going to add some sharpening in Photoshop because it does a little bit of a better job. So I'm going to go to Filter, Sharpen, and Smart Sharpen. I have my settings already in here. You can pause the video and take a look at what I do here. And I'll show you the before and after on this in a minute. I'm going to click OK. Oh, I'm not going to be able to show you the before and after. I'm not loving right here at the bottom of the RDA how dark that shadow is, but I'm going to be able to pull a little bit of that detail out of that shadow in Lightroom, so I'm not crazy worried about it right now. Plus, I do like contrast in my image. I don't want this to be super bright and washed out, just light everywhere, so there's no shadow, no definition or detail. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people make with their coil photography is like too much light, like lights way too close, bare bulb lights with no diffusion, and it's just like too much light. The specular highlights, so the highlights are just too hot and too bright and you lose all the detail in there. But like if you take a look at the shadow inside the coil, like I like the way that falls off from the light into that darkness. I want to keep that. So I'm not going to push the shadows too hard here. You can see that mod is a mess, so I'm definitely not going to try to keep a lot. Actually, you know what? I kind of like the detail of that mod. Maybe I will keep that. But you can see the bottom of that mod, I just didn't get in focus when I took the photos, so there's no way for it to be in focus in the stack. So I'm going to eliminate that out of focus part because it just doesn't look good in my opinion. Okay, so there's our sharpen. I'm going to click, excuse me. So here's the benefit of going from Lightroom into Photoshop like I just did. When I click File, Save, it's going to import that photo back into Lightroom for me. So I don't have to go into Lightroom, go into Library, import it, and do all that nonsense. It's going to shoot it right into Lightroom for me, which is fantastic. This is a massive file, so it's taken a little while to save. Hopefully we don't get any problems here. Sometimes these files are so large that it's like too big to save because it's like 9 or 8K. I think it's an 8K image, like 8,000 pixels by something on the short end, but if that's the case, you would go File, Save As, and do, oh, I can't do it. It's like a large Photoshop format. I forget exactly what it's called. We'll take a look once this finishes. But that's one way to save it if it's too big for a normal Photoshop document or a TIFF file. And then once we get this into Lightroom, I'll show you my export settings and how I export it for Instagram. And I'll show you the aspect ratio and stuff that I use. God, I need a haircut. I'm going to try to cut my own hair tomorrow, I think. It's getting just way too long. This is a lot of heavy work for my computer to be doing while I'm streaming with Photoshop, Lightroom, OBS, and my capture card. It's just like, it's a lot. So I apologize for the delay. If you're serious into doing this coil photography, I highly recommend a graphics tablet. I didn't use it in this because you know, not a lot of people will go as far as to get one of these, but using the pen during editing, especially when it comes to like the clone tool, the brush tool, the spot removal tool, patch tool, pretty much anything, the pen is where it's at with the graphics tablet. It kind of changed my life when it came to especially retouching and portrait work and working on, you know, skin tones, stuff like that, and the high-end retouching kind of stuff. It makes editing so much easier. Some people edit videos with these. I can't do that. I like the mouse and the keyboard for video editing, but something to consider. I didn't get one of the Wacom tablets. I got the Huion, Huion tablet for like $80, and it works fantastic. I have no complaints at all. It has mappable buttons. It's a great tablet. It works really well. But I do put my phone on it all the time, and it messes with it. Man, this is taking so long to save. Wow. Wacom. Yeah, I don't have the Wacom version because those are like $400 for the similar version of this. This is like a direct knockoff of the Wacom tablet, and it's a fraction of the price, and in my opinion works just as well. I've used both, and for the cost difference, I wouldn't buy, even if I had it to like blow through the money, I wouldn't buy the Wacom version. I would get this one. Yeah, Drake, I want to hazard a guess and say don't do that. Or talk to somebody who, I don't even know. Like, I've never heard of anybody using copper. Yeah, the T, it's exceptionally time consuming to do these kind of shots, which is why I don't do them often. I do love photography and I do love coil photography and everything, but like, you know, with a family, YouTube channel, photography and videography work that I do, like this, it's just so time consuming. I just, a lot of the times can't find the time to do it. The time I would do it would be like the end of the day after we get the kids to bed, and you know, I just kind of want to relax and like, you know, play some video games or watch TV with the couple hours I do have to myself, you know. So what I've been trying to do, because I do want to post more content and I do love doing these, especially right now since I have no paid work coming in, and I might as fucking well at this point. I took a bunch of coils that I have and built them, and so I have a whole bunch of coils installed in RDAs, and I spent like a few hours yesterday, like 5 hours doing different shots, and then I spent another like 5 or 6 hours today editing all of them. And then that's why after that live stream, oh fuck, see, okay, so this was too big. So I can't do it as a TIFF file. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to File, Save As, Large Document Format. I'm gonna put it in my auto import folder and not name it because I don't care, and click Save. Hopefully it'll fucking save without taking 10 minutes this time. And it should auto import right into Lightroom here. Julian, I did not end up having it. I got my test results back in a few days. I did not have it, so I think I just had either pneumonia or some sort of just respiratory infection. Non-viral though, because I got antibiotics from my doctor, and those I just finished those yesterday. In the last 2 days, I've been feeling much better. But I was sick for like 2 weeks again, and I had just gotten over something. So hopefully I stay healthy this time because I'm really fucking sick of being sick. I haven't been working out either. I've just been too sick to work out, so I'm really looking forward to working out again. I feel so shitty when I don't. I know I've definitely been losing weight, and not in a good way, because when I was sick, I didn't have much of an appetite. It was really hard to eat, so I was, losing weight not in a good way. My goal is to put on weight. God, this is taking so long. See that? All right, so these are massive fucking files. The camera that I'm using is like 40 something megapixels at 8K, so it's like 8,000 something pixels on the long end. And when you stack, 50 of those, 100 of those images together, you've got quite a big file. Damn. Okay, so Josh did make a copper coil. If anybody would, it would be Josh. Josh is. I love you, Josh. You're the best. He made a silver coil. That's fucking badass. Dude, Drake, that would be fucking awesome. A solid silver mech mod. Oh, that'd be awesome. Something like a Ruby or like a Ruby by Kennedy, where it's like the RDA and the mod all together. I miss my Ruby. I think I'm gonna set that up and use that. I have been loving the Dreamer though. I've got the drop on it. Ugh. With just some aliens, some stainless steel aliens, but damn does this thing kick. These coils need to be cleaned, but let's see. Damn it, I'm dripping on my tablet. You know when you have a setup that's just like, every time you hit it, you're like, yes. You just love it every time. That's this setup for me. I don't like the color discrepancy, like the silver with the brass, but it just performs so well. I can't not use it. It's fucking amazing. Dude, I want a Vindicator so bad. I'm just gonna eventually break down and buy one. I'm fucking broke right now, so it's not gonna happen for a little while, but as soon as I start getting money coming in again, I'm definitely getting a Vindicator. The Ruby was like my first mech mod. One of my first, but it was like a game changer for me. It was the first time it made me fall in love with mech mods. And then I also had my buddy Colin introduced me to Sub-Ohm Innovations. I don't even know if those guys are still around, but they made some of the hardest hitting mechs that I've ever used. Actually, you know what? God, I'd love a Vindicator. I just really appreciate that they're all like handmade in California. I've talked to those guys before. They're really awesome. Their website sucks though. Like I would love to do their website for them. Man, I'm looking at those Vindicators now. They're so beautiful. Man, the Ruby 21 looks amazing. Man, a complete Vindicator setup is $250. But you can get a Vindicator for $130. That's not too bad. The 2700 version's $120. Oh man, look at the skeleton version, $3.99. Special colors for $2.90. Oh, you can get a roundhouse for $90. That's not bad. Stack sections, that's cool. 95 bucks. $28mm mod, man, that's big. Man, I want this Ruby 21 so bad. $230. Jeez Louise. Black Cerakote copper, what? I think I'd want the copper though, or the stainless. Man, the brass is beautiful though. Oh, I can't decide. God damn, I want this mod so bad. My Ruby mod is like number 6 of the original Rubies. 6 or 9, I can't remember. Oh, Craig, that's a good idea. Looking for a used one on Facebook. I see. I guess you could get a good clean setup, right? I should do that. All right, so our stack is done. It's saved and imported into Lightroom. So let me make sure everything's okay. Yeah, we're good. All right, let's take a look here. So what I would do, that looks pretty clean, huh? All right, so I'm gonna crop it in a 4:5 aspect ratio and go vertical with it. And the 4:5 aspect ratio is going to take up more screen space on somebody's phone than going horizontal or square. And so it's just always better to take up more real estate. Now I could do something like crop this super fucking small and go ultra macro on it. I could do something like this and that looks pretty badass. With a shot like this, what I like to do is get as much mileage as possible. So I'll do a couple different crops and edits. And so when you're cropping in, you could do something like, you know, rotating a little bit. And we could do this crop, which I don't love. I don't love that composition. I kind of like the angles that I shot it at. Another little trick that we can do if we want to get more mileage out of this is do something like transform and flip it horizontal, so it's like the opposite perspective, and we can get some mileage out of that. Maybe another photo out of that. Because when you spend, you know, what have we been doing? Like an hour and a half, 2 hours on this already with not a lot of fluff in between. Like that's time consuming. And, you know, I'm not going to hate on you if you want to get some extra mileage out of it. Now, when it comes to editing this, like stylizing it, if you're not great at photo editing and you're just not real confident in it, you can always try clicking the auto button. And that's not bad. It brightened everything up for us. That doesn't look terrible. I'm going to start from scratch though, so I'm going to reset that. I didn't want to lose my crop, but okay, we'll start over. That's fine. I'm going to go kind of macro on this, and I kind of like this kind of composition here. Yeah, that's cool. We'll go with that. I actually want a little bit more angle on that, just to kind of give it a little more oomph. Actually, no, I don't like that. I'm going to go back to where I was. Something like that. I like this negative space up here. I'm going to leave that. Oh, these lights kill my eyes. Okay. That's why I blink so much, by the way. One thing I always do is I bump up the texture and the clarity just a little bit. You don't want to overdo anything. You want to be subtle with this kind of stuff. One key sign of an amateur is going way too overboard with the edit. If you boost the clarity like crazy, it's just going to look unnatural. A lot of people do this. They think it makes it look sharper, which it undoubtedly does, but it's just too much. like way, way, way too much. So I go a little bit easier on the texture and the clarity. You can see the difference that this makes. It just pulls out the detail of the coil. You don't want to push this too much, especially if you have some noise, a little bit of graininess in the image, because it's going to accentuate that as well. I'm going to come down here and add a little bit of sharpening. This masking, if you have this all the way down, it's going to sharpen the entire image, like even the dark, even what's out of focus. So I like to bring this almost all the way up, and it's only going to sharpen what's already sharp in the image. So I always do that. I'll give it a little bit of noise reduction just to take a little bit of that noise out if there is any. Because I have the adapter, it's not going to do the profile corrections, but I would normally do that. I'm going to add a little bit of a vignette, but I'm going to come out and make sure that that's not too much. I don't like that, so I'm going to take that out. Okay, so now I like to start at the tone curve, so I generally just put a point in the middle. And then, so if you don't really know what you're doing with any of this, do it by eye. So go up, go down, and see where you want to be. This is a really contrasty image as it is, and so I don't want to push this too hard, but I am going to push the shadows up a little bit. So this is your shadows, your darks, and this is your lights, your highlights. And so I'm going to push the highlights a little bit just to brighten up the image just a tiny bit. And I might push the midtones up too. Yeah, okay, and I'm also going to bring the blacks up. I'm going to crush the blacks. No, I'm not. Just a tiny bit. All right, just a tiny bit. Why not? If this were a colored coil, like if I had added color to this, I would bump the saturation up a little bit. You can also go into the HSL sliders and bump up individual colors. So if you added color to a coil and you wanted to really bring out those blues, purples, and oranges, you could do that here in saturation and luminance. Luminance is how bright the color is. Saturation is how intense the color is. And then hue is changing the tone of the color. So yeah, there's that. When it comes to portrait work, I like to play in split toning, which is down here at the bottom under calibration. You could do some really crazy stuff with images under calibration, but we're not going to touch that today. All right, so now we're going to come up to basic corrections, which is normally what I would do first. Tone curve or basic. And so again, if you don't know, you can just kind of play with this and see what it does. See, those are like way too hot. Those highlights were just totally clipping and burning all the information out of those highlights. So I'm going to bring those down quite a bit. Well, not quite a bit, but just a little bit. I'm going to boost the whites a little bit. And I'm going to see where I want these blacks. I'm going to probably bump them just a little bit. And then, like I said, I'm going to just bump the shadows just a tiny bit just to start peeking in through here. I'm going to leave the contrast where it's at and not play with the exposure a ton. Probably bring the white balance a little blue just to get that silver color to come out. And that's it, guys. That is a postable photo stacked coil shot. So yeah, it only took us, what, 2 hours? Worth it? I don't know. That's up to you. But it's a cool shot. I mean, I'm happy with it. I wish I took these fuzzes out. I wish I spent more time. But it's fine. It's fucking fine. I'm not going to get crazy. This would be a cool shot to crop in on this. All right, so if I'm happy with this, I'm going to export it. Come down to export, export. I always put them in an edits folder so they're not in with the original. We'll do just coil as the name. I always size the image for the long edge at 3000 pixels with 300 ppi, which is more than enough quality for Instagram because it's going to compress the fuck out of it anyway. And then so I'm going to export that. Now that I've got that image out, I'm going to play around with some more cropping, see what other images I can get. I do like this little lead sticking out, so I'm going to see if I can crop this in nice and tight and get that without it degrading the image too terribly. That's not great, but I want it like tight like that too, so that's not going to work. I'm going to have to make it bigger. I can hide some of the lack of sharpness by making it bigger, because the more you pull out of it, the sharper it's going to get. And I don't love that shot. So I'm going to come in here and see if I can do a macro like this. Keeping some of this post in here gives the photo a lot of depth. You know, something in the foreground. This actually might look better as a horizontal, so I can get more of that in there. Yeah, that's a cool shot. Let's see if I can get even more angle out of that. I'm going to I'm going to pull down these highlights a little bit because they're a little hot this close. So that's a cool shot. I could rock with this, export this one. And just because I'm exporting these doesn't mean I need to use them. I could, you know, do a bunch of exports off this single image and then see what I like. You know, only post the ones that I like. I'm going to go back to original. Maybe do, I'm going to stick with the 4:5 ratio, go vertical, and I'm going to flip this one. So see if I can get some more mileage out of a horizontal. Did I do an extreme angle like this? I don't think so, right? I like to play with negative space. This is fucking weird. Okay. So I'm cool with having this empty space up here. Actually, I'm not. I'm not cool with all that. So I'm just playing around with the framing and the composition to find something that I like. I like this quite a bit, so I'm going to rock with this. And so you can literally just play around for a while and see what you like and what you can get out of it. I recommend getting as much mileage as possible out of the time you spent on something like this. And if you space out the shots, you know, if you do a few of these and space them out, not all back to back, you can really get some mileage out of each coil and each stack that you do. All right, so there's that. Man, I want a fucking Ruby mod so bad. Who got me on this topic? Thank you, Mike. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. I'm glad you're entertained and liking the content. All right, let me check up on something real quick. All right. So that's it, guys. That's a stack. That's the process. So if you haven't seen that before, I know that it can be a little overwhelming, but even if you have a cell phone, I encourage you, get a couple clamp lights if you're on a budget. Get a couple clamp lights and some foam core, some computer paper, and you have everything you need to get going. Just spend time playing with your lighting. A really good rule of thumb is like 45 degrees from the camera or your phone behind the coil. You want that nice cutout from the background with the light from behind. So again, clamp light, piece of paper in front of it, about 4 to 6 inches away from the coil, will give you nice soft light to cut it out. And then you want a key light. So if your rim light or your backlight is 45 degrees on the left of the camera, you want your key light generally on the right side of your camera at a corresponding angle. So you could put a straight line between the key light and the rim light. That's a good basic starting setup. And then you can use bounce cards to bounce more light in if you need it. Just play around with the lighting. Move it around, see what it does. Start with one light at a time so you can understand what that light is doing to your subject. And then you can build upon that and add more lights as you need it. Add bounce, take it away, adjust the angle, hold it up, hold it down. It'll make a massive difference, but get those lights close, diffuse them. There's all kinds of really cheap options on Amazon, and I do have a lot of them linked in my Amazon store, so you can check the description. I do get a little kickback from any purchases you make from there, which just helps me survive, so I appreciate it if you decide to do that. But as always, guys, if you have any questions, just contact me directly. I get back to people. I don't see the sense of building a community and then not engaging with that community. I think that's silly. But I appreciate all you guys spending, what's today, Tuesday or Wednesday? I appreciate you guys spending time with me during this quarantine. I hope everybody's staying safe, and I hope everybody's healthy and doing well. Yeah, so that's it. I'm really bad at ending these. I should figure out, I should like plan how to end these. But yeah, any questions, guys, let me know. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was useful. I want to do another, probably a dedicated video on this, but show you guys doing it with a cell phone, because I think the majority of people who are want this kind of information are beginners who are using cell phones. I think if you're already doing photos like this, you're probably not watching this live stream, right? Unless you're gonna like compare and contrast the way I do things. Again, this is not like the end-all be-all way to do this. This is just the way that I do it. So there probably is like better and more efficient ways to do this. But if you know of any, let me know. I'd love to learn. All right, guys. So I think that's gonna do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, like that smash button, get subscribed. I have a lot of plans for content coming out. I'm going to do the Coil Builder Reacts series, so make sure you get your submissions in as soon as possible. I'm going to do that the first video of that series pretty soon. I've got an amazing response from you guys. I'm really looking forward to that video. I'm going to be filming some build tutorials pretty soon. What else? I have a bunch of reviews coming up. I'm going to do, yeah, a bunch of cool content. So stay tuned. Push the bell if you do want to be notified. Otherwise, YouTube will not tell you when I have videos coming out. But all right, guys, thanks so much. And I'm going to head out now. I'm going to end this stream. God, I'm so bad at this. All right, guys, take it easy. Thanks so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. Stay safe, guys. Take care of each other. We will get through this. This nightmare will end eventually. But let's take care of each other in the meantime. All right, guys. Talk to you later.